I might have filmed that intro so that you could see my shirt, because otherwise it's hard to tell, but I'm wearing Steven's shirt. I love Steven Universe a lot, and I've been wanting to make a video about it for a really long time, so I'm very excited to be doing this. I have to thank one of my favorite YouTubers, Marina Shut Up, for making a fantastic non-spoilery video about how Steven Universe is hella feminist. It's what finally got me to watch the show, and I'm just so immensely grateful. For those who may have never heard of Steven Universe before, it's an animated children's show on Cartoon Network about a little boy named Steven who's being raised by 3 female superheroes. Superheroes doesn't really begin to describe the crystal gems, but they at least fit into the superhero narrative. And Steven Universe is definitely the story of a superhero. The diversity of the cast, as well as the diversity of the issues they cover on the show, is just astounding, really. While I am going to be talking about an episode in the 2nd season, I'm not actually going to spoil anything for you. So if you're considering watching the show, don't worry. Let's get started. In looking at the story of the superhero, there's a trope that shows up time and time again. It's actually one of the reasons a character might have a secret identity in the first place. It's what TV Tropes refers to as, "It's not you, it's my enemies." The basic idea behind this is that a superhero must emotionally distance themselves from a loved one, sometimes breaking the relationship off entirely, in order to protect them from the possibility of being hurt by a villain. About 90% of the time, the loved one doesn't actually know the whole reason that they're being tossed aside by the hero, so they're usually pretty hurt. What else usually happens is the loved one, or loved ones, are female. And that's what usually happens for 2 different reasons. 1, there are a lot more male superhero stories than there are female superhero stories, especially when it comes to movies and television. And 2, the law of heteronormativity mandates that men have female loved ones, whether they be family or love interest. While there are exceptions to this rule, they are, well, exceptions to the rule. And this whole idea of villains hurting the loved ones of superheroes is solid. It's not like it doesn't happen. But there are a few problems with this kind of reasoning. Sometimes the villains don't know your secret identity, and therefore they don't know who your loved ones are. Sometimes they don't care. And usually, there's nothing to stop the bad guys from hurting that person, even if the hero is broken up with them. There's also the issue with most of these loved ones being female, because most of the time, this trope comes off as condescending and overprotective of a fragile female character, even if the character's not fragile. This trope goes hand in hand with the idea that women are weaker, and therefore, men should do everything that they can to protect them from this cold and cruel world. An example to illustrate, you ask? Let's talk about Hank Pym from Ant-Man. Ant-Man already kind of grates on me and the Princess's nerves because Hank's wife, Janet Van Dyne, the original Winsome Wasp and one of the founding members of the Avengers, though you wouldn't know it because she wasn't in the movie, because I'm sure they were just like, oh, we already have a female character and Gwyneth Paltrow shows up at the beginning, is killed off in Ant-Man so that Hank can be justified in being overprotective of his daughter Hope. This has to happen because Hope is actually much more qualified to use the Ant-Man technology than Paul Rudd's character. But we can't have a female superhero because then who will train the bland male character to become the superhero? Oliver Queen from The Arrow does this quite a few times. When he and Felicity first go out on a date, their restaurant is attacked, and he breaks up with her because it's too dangerous for them to be together, even though she still works with him. She's still in danger. All the time. Oliver also had a really strained relationship with his mother and sister because they knew that he was lying to them about something. This trope is also the entire premise for New Moon. And this sort of behavior is usually seen as a great sacrifice for the hero. Oh, isn't he so noble for doing this? He's being a jerk to the people he loves in a misguided attempt to protect them. Siri, define God complex for me.
I eschew theological disquisition.
Besides being jerkish behavior, it also removes agency from these female characters, who aren't given the choice of whether or not their relationship to the male hero is worth the risk of danger or not. So the male hero is acting on behalf of a female character because he thinks he knows what's best for her. Gee, not like that attitude doesn't show up in the real world or anything. There are some stories that subvert this idea. Agent Carter deals with this in a single episode, where she tries to distance herself not only from Angie, but also from the idea of living with any other women that she might possibly put in danger, as well as Mr. Jarvis, because she thinks that she can do everything by herself. And she probably could, but she doesn't really want to, because what's the point of defending the human race if you don't actually, you know, take part in the human race? Tony Stark keeps a secret identity for one whole movie before he just can't bear it anymore. And he never, ever tries to get rid of Pepper. As we saw in the second movie, Tony will literally die if Pepper leaves him alone for too long. But the best way I've ever seen this trope dismantled is in the Steven Universe episode, Full Disclosure. As the first episode in the second season, some pretty big stuff has just gone down in the season 1 finale. And when his dad nearly has a heart attack after he's done telling him all the dangerous stuff that he's just gotten into, Steven starts to wonder if he should really tell his best friend Connie what happened. After ignoring her calls, he then decides that he shouldn't have any human contact at all. And this is really unusual behavior for Steven, who is an actual cinnamon roll. It's so out of character for him that I can't help but feel like the writers were making fun of the dark and brooding hero. Connie eventually confronts him and he sends her a text that he doesn't want to be friends anymore. But she refuses to leave and she demands that he say it to her face. And when he tries to, well,
I still want to be friends!
Steven is an actual cinnamon roll.
I didn't want you to worry about it.
I've been worried sick all day. What do you think I'm doing here?
He ends up telling her about what happened and how scared he was and how dangerous it was and how nothing is ever going to be the same. And there's 2 really great moments after he's done talking. He asks if she's okay and she responds by saying that he's the one who went through the whole ordeal and that the least she could do is listen. And this acknowledgement of the need for emotional support in the face of trauma is something that rarely shows up in the male superhero narrative. Connie then tells him that she understands that things are different now and that by being friends with him, it might put her in danger. But she still wants to be friends, and she actually wants to help Steven in the battle that they know will eventually come. The writers for Steven Universe have a real knack for delivering emotional payoff, authenticity, and just for making you feel a lot of things. And they so effectively showed why this trope is just a really awful thing to do to someone that you love. And why it's also demeaning, because these characters should be allowed to make the decision themselves. Thank you for watching this. Like this video if you watch Steven Universe or if you're considering watching it now. If you can think of any subversions of this trope, please leave them in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, you should check out the rest of our channel and also subscribe. If you're one of the few people who follow me on Twitter, you probably saw that I said something about there being a surprise in this video. The surprise is that the next 2 videos are also going to be Steven Universe themed. So we're having a whole rotation of Steven Universe because we love it so much. The princess will see you next week. Let's do this. Ah! Just tripped over a box of Halloween and Christmas decorations, in case you couldn't tell by the jingle bell. Well, now I know what I'll be putting at the end of the video.